Have you ever had an idea that was so clear it was like a 3D movie? Have you ever told a friend about the idea and they told you, wow, if you could only make that into a business, you would be rich? Sound familiar? Welcome to Knowledge to Currency. I'm your host, Senator Porter, with my co-host, Roosevelt Williams III, and we're here to help you take action. This is free information. We only ask one thing: build a strong foundation and mindset. We have insight to help you get started. Most of us just need a push.
Hey, it's Grant from Petco Park.
And this is Cheyenne, and we're a shout out to Airbnb for partnering with us today for our theme game.
Have a good day.
Welcome to episode 11 of Knowledge to Currency. My name is Senator Porter, and you are?
Roosevelt Williams III.
And this is episode 11, and our special guest is David Padilla.
You got it.
Thank you so much for, I didn't want to mess up your name. Thank you so much for joining the show. We're definitely appreciative of you taking the time out your day to come meet with us and educate our community. So let's talk about you. Who is David, and how are you from San Diego? Like, let's kind of go with your backstory.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you guys for inviting me. I feel honored to even be here and to think that I have something to share for with your group. So
absolutely,
happy to do that. So grew up actually out of town in Fresno, California.
Okay.
And not in the best part of town.
Okay.
So grew up there, and that's where a lot of the motivation in life came from, to actually, hustle and make things happen by not. As you're a kid, you don't realize actually that you don't have much. You're just playing and hanging out. And
sure.
We lived next to the projects at one time. And,
okay.
And, I'm just playing with all the kids. I didn't know any better.
Sure.
And then, later on in life, my parents are doing much, much better. But, as they were young adults, kind of just, in their 30s, probably 20s, having kids and
sure.
kind of just getting things going. As I became a teenager, I realized I'm like, wait a minute. You start noticing things.
Sure.
You start noticing a lot of things. And I started seeing things I like. I think genetically just built in me is like, I like nice stuff. So that just kind of happened. And I was in middle school, and my brother was living in La Jolla. And I came to visit him once, and I'm like hanging out by the pool, looking at these palm trees and this pool, and I think there was even a jacuzzi. And I'm just like, dang, when I grow up, I'm moving here.
So you have an older brother?
I have an older brother.
Any sisters?
I have an older sister and a little brother.
So four of you guys.
There's four of us, yeah.
Nice.
So we grew up, we had the bunk beds. We had a lot of fights. I was always the very quiet child. I was still to this day, I'm somewhat kind of quiet. I usually listen more than speak, kind of thing. In general, my friends know that too. I'm usually the quiet guy that just says like something once in a while.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, but grew up in Fresno, moved to San Diego about 22-ish, maybe 21, 22. And everyone said, you know what, you're going to come back.
Sure.
Too expensive over there.
Sure.
It's too expensive. Everybody comes back. Everyone who leaves comes back.
He's like, no, I like expensive. He's like, I like expensive.
That's right up my alley.
That's awesome.
No. My mindset was, I ain't coming back.
Okay. That's awesome.
I'm going to make this work, whatever I got to do. I used to manage jewelry stores back then.
Okay.
So I took a pay cut to move to San Diego.
Okay.
$20,000 pay cut, which was a lot back in 2000. $20,000's a lot even now.
Sure.
But $20,000 pay cut in 2001 or 2 or something like that, didn't help me much moving here, but it got me here.
Sure.
And I was like, I'll take that job transfer. And next thing you know, I'm here. Yeah.
So you live from jewelry. What if you have a business, but you also have a W-2 job? Tell us about W-2 job.
Yeah. So let me just tell the story how I kind of got to that real quick. So, because the jewelry life was interesting, and that's how I got into the real estate life. So it transitions.
Sure.
So I'm selling a lot of jewelry here, and all these people are coming in, young kids in their 20s buying $20,000 diamond rings, and they're telling me they're a loan officer. And I'm like, what's a loan officer?
Let me Google that.
Yeah. And then I've always had it in my mind, like even in the jewelry business, at the age of like 18, so maybe in 17, like if you can do it, I can do it.
Of course.
Always.
Yeah, of course.
Maybe if it's not a sport or something like that, but work-wise, I could do things I know I can do.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not going to be a rocket scientist, but I know I could manage that jewelry store.
Sure.
And that's what I did quickly. And then meeting these loan officers, buying these rings for their fiance.
Girls.
Yeah, and I'm like, this is
insane.
This is crazy. I can do what you're doing for sure.
Yeah.
You're not a rocket scientist. I got my way in here, and got into lending.
Okay.
And then from there, 2008 happened.
Sure. So you went from the $20,000 ring to like on the Pioneer ring.
Yeah, that was a quick fast forward, but that's the story of transitioning from jewelry sales, which really brought me out of my shell.
Sure.
Yeah, I was actually applying to work at a computer store down the way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was like I think it was BRE software or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was my
different.
interest. That was actually my interest.
Sure.
But I had a cousin that worked at the jewelry store, and her aunt managed it. And
so
so she's like, hey, just check this out. I go, I know nothing about jewelry. I know nothing about sales. I'm shy. I don't even like talking to people.
Sure.
And that manager broke me in. She's like, you got to stand out in that what they call the lease line. And you have to pass out flyers to everyone that comes by. And you got to invite them in the store. And then about every week, you got to go around to all the stores and hand out our flyer and tell everyone about their, mall discount or whatever it is.
Oh, so this wasn't in La Jolla. This was in the mall?
This is the mall back in Fresno where I started. Or it was Clovis, actually.
Okay.
But
cool.
But that's where I got broken into becoming a sales professional, I would say. Yeah. Over time, I could say that now.
Well,
back then,
You're going from B2B sales at that point because you're going into businesses talking about your product.
Yeah.
And then still doing sales with people. That's like real deal training right there.
Yeah, it's B2C and B2B.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, now I'm totally confident in doing in either one.
Sure.
Yeah. But back then, I was terrified.
Well, you're a lot younger then, though.
I was 18, so.
Yeah, so that makes sense. Like, and some people make a lot of money doing jewelry. I got a friend in the jewelry district downtown. He owns an outfit, and he moved from Tennessee, and they owned a bunch of jewelry stores there, and he did the same thing. Like, I'm leaving here, I'm going to La Jolla, and they're like, La Jolla, why would you do that? But he's out, he lives out in La Jolla, built a house here, and so absolutely can make money.
It could be a very good industry, profitable. I just after some time, I was just over it, and I didn't like working the weekends. It was retail. And I'm like, I like weekends off. I missed so many things growing up with parties and birthdays and stuff. And so I'm like, I think I could make twice as much in this other industry and work Monday through Friday.
Yeah, and you get holidays off, all federal holidays off.
Yeah, lending was good. I did residential, then I did some commercial lending, and I was started a net branch in Mission Valley. Back then we called it Commission Valley. And then got recruited to a commercial real estate company and did some SBA construction loans.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was fun, and I thought that was it. And then 2008 came, and nobody could, you couldn't lend any money anymore.
So then, what was your pivot from there?
So I was living in Mission Valley, and I'm like, I need a job. Anybody out there know what's going on? I had a buddy in telecom. He's like, hey, there's this new product out, we're making some pretty good money, and I'm like, I'll give it a shot. Like, I'll do anything I got to do right now.
Right.
And that's what I did. And 14 years later now, still in the telecom game.
Sure.
And still doing some stuff there as well. Yeah. But now, as an expert in that field, it's something I can do remotely and something I can do, with my eyes closed.
So now you got it so dialed in that you don't have to focus on it as much as when you first started.
Yep.
So you can keep that stream of income coming in.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So that's wonderful. So let's talk about some of the other stuff. So then you get your real estate license, I'm assuming?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So you went from lending, and then you went to the dark side of real estate. Dun, 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 dun.
Yes, the dark side.
So let's talk about it.
Okay. Yeah. So the real estate side, back then, your license was good for both.
Yeah.
So I did real estate sales transactions for like family, mostly friends. Didn't do too much. I was more focused on the lending. I was super into it. And then I got into the business lending and I was really pumped and really excited about that. So the transaction stuff I never was too into on the real estate side. But coming back into the game, I feel like I've already done that, so I want to do this now. And once again, I don't think many things are rocket science except rocket science, right? So I'm like, okay, I met a lot of these agents. Mm-hmm. I'm confident I can do what they're doing or something similar. And it's not even that I want to do exactly what the top agents are doing. It's just not my interest of working at that much.
Yeah, and you can by actually visualizing and seeing somebody do it, your capabilities. You're like, okay, it's possible for me.
Yeah, yeah, and I just there's a saying in real estate, you usually either you retire or you expire. So
that's true.
Because in the real estate game, it's 100% commission, and there's no 401k matching. Mm-hmm. There's not some investment advisor coming. Well, it's now kind of somewhat there is. Everyone's an investment advisor, but I've just seen from observation that their portfolios are not diversified.
Sure.
So I was like, okay. So I always look at like wherever I work, wherever I've done, I've always looked at the older people.
Okay.
And I think, is that who I want to be? Because that's who I'm going to end up being. Am I going to sit in that cubicle and be that guy?
Sure.
Yeah. No thanks. I don't care how much you pay me. I have zero interest.
Right.
And then, so that's always part of my strategy. And the real estate thing too, I look at that, the older people in real estate, and I see what they're doing. I'm like, I have zero interest in that.
Where do you think that came from? Because a lot of people, even myself, I worked at a job longer than I should have, just because I was like, all right, I understand this. I feel this is a good company, and I kind of just stayed there. When I had other opportunities, or maybe there was an opportunity, I could have made an opportunity, but I didn't think about it because I was kind of complacent where I was at. So where do you think that came from for you, where you're like, I know for a fact I want to do more. I may not know exactly what that is, but I'm observing people, and I got to make sure I do more than that.
Yeah. It's a self-inner drive. Sure. I think some people are just like pre-programmed, and I've just always wanted more,
good.
In a way, not more and more where I'm never satisfied, but more in the way where like, at some point, obviously I'll be at a point where I hopefully don't want more, right? Sure. But observing, right, and looking and living in San Diego, it's not a cheap place to live.
No.
So I don't think I'm asking for too much.
Sure.
Personally.
Absolutely.
But I just for me it's been looking at that 5-10 year time frame of these other individuals that are working there and seeing what they're doing, and then trying to visualize myself doing that in 5 or 10 years. If I don't see myself doing that, I should plan an exit strategy.
That's fantastic. So, are you still doing commercial real estate, or you do residential?
Residential, buying, selling, investing, whatever people want to do. I never done a real estate transaction. It was just on the lending side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understand. Yeah. And then let's talk about Airbnb. When did you get your first one, and what made you do it?
Yeah. So I lucked out and purchased a place like when I was like 21, and it was my first place to live, and then it became a rental property. So that was cool. I didn't know. The lady just told me, hey, it's the same as rent. She's like, you just need some money to put down. I was managing a jewelry store. Well, I'm like, I got money to put down. I'm just blowing it. Like a lot of people back in the day, just wasting money on stupid things.
Sure.
And so bought a place, a little bit more than rent, paid off. And from there, so remodeled that place, sold that place, and then figured out what to do in between. And then an opportunity came up just recently, about, a little over a year ago. That's when I picked up my first Airbnb.
And that was during COVID.
Yeah.
Okay, so
COVID times. Everyone's afraid.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So when everybody's scared to buy and do anything, what made you say like, hey, I got to get this place. Let's go.
So that's a good point. So COVID was were my best financial years.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, so the being able to work remote.
Yep.
Being able to work a lot.
Sure.
Not wasting my time. Plus, you had no FOMO because there's nothing to do.
Yeah, so you could really
I watched a lot of podcasts. I watched a lot of YouTubes. Listen to podcasts. Watch YouTubes and read whatever I read and then work a lot. That's just kind of something I do. They were great years, and this year is going to be even better. But the opportunity of the place, right, it was still a tough market because even like now, supply and demand. So to get your offer accepted, you need to, right, work with someone who make that happen. And, I'm representing myself.
Oh, that's cool.
So I was talking to the other agent, and I'm pretty good at building relationships with people.
Sure.
And, I'm like, what do I got to do to get this place? And then I'm like, I'll pay $20,000, I'll put it in my offer. I'll pay $20,000 over appraised value if it doesn't appraise. I mean, I'm not afraid. Like,
nice.
This is going to be, so before I even got to that point though, let's back up real quick. So
sure.
I have a little spreadsheet, put together that before the purchase was even made, right? It's a calculated risk for me to make sure this is a good purchase. So I didn't just go out blindly and look at stuff and then just make an offer and negotiate this thing. This was, maybe 6 months to 8 months in the making, maybe even longer in my mind.
Sure.
But on a spreadsheet,
sure.
is about almost 8 months of a spreadsheet, ROI, cash flow,
that's what I was gonna
Airbnb versus rental. And then it's almost like, man, I can't lose.
So you were thinking of an Airbnb potential opportunity, and you're saying, all right, I'm going to have the idea first. Let's put this down on paper. Let's look at the opportunity so that I'm not actually risking or gambling. I'm actually making a calculated decision here. And then the opportunity came up, and then you could seize it. And that's what I'm hearing.
Yes. Actually, I thought it was going to be a rental.
Okay.
And then the Airbnb concept came up as we were getting closer. So I started factoring that model on a different spreadsheet, but it was related. But it was a no-brainer. And then, it's once again, it's not rocket science. It's just math.
Sure.
And you do the math, and it's and you look at it, and if it makes sense, you move quick, and you don't hesitate. You just go after it, and that's what I did, and I'm thankful that I did that.
Because most people do, they second guess. They have an idea, it's a great idea, and then they're like, for whatever reason, they just don't take action on it. So bravo to you for saying, hey, not only is this, I'm doing this, if I got to pay more, in the end, it's going to benefit me. And here you are, and I'm crushing it with that. So then you have one, or how many do you have?
I have two. It's a duplex, so I have two.
Even better.
And it's doing great. So it's funny just to relate it to something like back in, the days of like party and stuff.
Sure.
So like, I figured out back then like how to party for free. Or I would be the guy running, the limo bus, planning the bottle service, all the fun stuff.
Get everybody
pitched in, and it covered my portion too.
There you go.
And that wasn't even the goal initially. It just happened.
Sure.
And I'm like, oh look, I could party for free.
Sure.
Interesting. And now with this thing, right? It's like I could live. It'll pay my mortgage and my rent, right?
So I could live in San Diego for free. That's
once again, it's just a different. Yeah. So the whole multi-unit thing is always a good idea if you can make it work and if the math makes sense to you. But, even a duplex is in San Diego is going to be, it's going to work out favorable, I would say, if you just live in one and rent one. You could probably, most likely, do the math, but you could probably live for free. And then, you do whatever else you got to do to earn your incomes. And
Sure.
So back in 20 years old, I read a book called Multiple Streams of Income. And that's kind of where the whole concept in my brain came through. So I've always been one to think that one is not enough. And then COVID really proved that. And also COVID proved what's essential and who's essential job-wise.
Sure.
Right? So, I'm thankful that all happened. So it's like the puzzle's coming together.
Right. But you did the work to prepare yourself for that to happen, which is awesome.
Yeah.
You want to add anything?
Oh, absolutely. I wanted to, because you said we're all born with it, or, we're programmed. So when did you identify that you had aggressive intelligence?
I never really thought I had aggressive intelligence. I've always thought that I'm just a normal person doing my thing, and other people are normal people doing their things. No matter how they're dressed, what they're doing, we all eat and sleep,
Sure.
We all do the same things. We shower the same, So I never thought that. And it's just more of like a confidence, I guess, in myself, knowing that I could probably do something that someone else is doing and then trying to do it. And so I almost think people that aren't super intelligent are the ones making those moves because they're not even thinking about it,
Sure.
But they probably have the confidence in them to even ask the girl or go for that job or whatever they're doing, right? Start that business.
Yeah, because I see a lot of individuals, like you said, you're going to either retire or expire. And I see a lot of individuals, they spend their whole life aiming but don't ever take a shot. They don't know how to pull the trigger, so to say. I know we're in an era where I shouldn't say pull the trigger, but, that they don't ever get up and go.
Yeah.
They don't get out. So, like, at what age, because you said that you may have started off in a shell, but then I really like the analogy how you started, speaking to individuals in the store, retail, hand-to-hand, B2B, B2C, and now you're eventually going B2G, business to government. So, like, when did you say, you know what, like when did your confidence settle in? Like, you know what, my posture is different. My approach. When did you, get that confidence? I know it's an everyday, strive. But like, when did your confidence really settle in? Because individuals that's watching this podcast, of course you're inspiring all of us, but they may just need that little kick in the butt to say, you know what, you got it.
Yeah, everyone has it.
Right.
You just got to bring it out. So it's not if you want it, you can make it happen, right? So I think if somebody has a thought, they have a vision, it's for a reason, right? It wouldn't just pop in your head because you couldn't pull it off.
Right.
So if it pops in, try it, attempt it. Don't be afraid. You're going to make mistakes, but that's just part of the game. And don't be afraid to, make those little mistakes because that's how you learn, right? You do something wrong and you're like, oh, I burnt myself. Oh, I probably shouldn't touch that again, right? It's hot. So I think for people that are afraid to get started or try, they just got to take some action and just, if they really want it and they think they can do it regardless of whatever other people say, do it. And I think the problem is other people a lot of times in their head.
Sure.
So I guess talk about mindset real quick. I think people, including myself, we doubt ourselves too much.
Sure.
In a lot of ways. And I think it's important to, before you do anything, if possible, if you can, work on your mindset. Because that's where it's all going to start. It's all going to start in here, right? And without the internal peace, without the internal focus, you probably won't pull off the external.
That's a fact.
So I think a lot of that is just it's all in your head, and we're our own worst critics. And I think we all need to just be a little more kinder to ourselves and whatever you got to do that. You got to jump in the ocean. You got to smack yourself around, whatever you got to do it. I mean, I think for me, it was the self-help books, the self-help section I've probably been in since I was like 18 years old.
Nice.
The Tony Robbins seminars, the 10X seminars, stuff like that. That is probably made me who I am today.
Yeah, so you have that PMA, that positive mental attitude.
I do.
And definitely, do you feel like because of what you said, even when you were young, you had that vision of, you wanted to find the things in life. And so you just continue to listen to that voice because, if you hold on to a thought long enough, you can have it. So is that like a motivator? You, even though you're, haven't reached your crescendo yet, you still listen to that voice when you were younger, like, you know what? I still want more. I still deserve it. I can still feel it, taste it. Does that drive you?
Somewhat. It does. For me, it's more about others right now. Maybe I think initially, you're right. It was all about me.
Sure.
How much can I get?
Right.
How much can I do? How much can I sell?
Right.
Me. And then over time, it's became like others, right? Like, I love being a good uncle. I like being able to cover the tab. I like, buying people stuff,
Nice.
So, they say the secret to living is giving,
Right.
And I truly believe that. So I initially, yes, that was, let me get as much as I can get. But as time kind of goes on, the story is changing.
Yeah, I like to commend you for that.
Question real quick.
Thank you.
Now that you had bought the actual property, what was the next step? Because that was the hard part, is getting the property.
You would think. The hard part was not getting the property. I mean, it's just money.
Sure.
It's just money.
Sure.
And you can't take it with you,
Right.
And I want to try to spend, as much as I can before I check
it
out,
expire,
right?
yeah.
I'd rather see people happy when I'm doing that. But to the Airbnb project, buying it was the easy part. That's just me representing myself, telling you I'll pay
Whatever
X
it
amount
is.
over because I'll make that back in equity in like just a few months,
Right.
like whatever.
Right.
So, and then once again, that's confidence in math.
Right.
It's not in myself knowing that that's going to happen. It's just the trend. Look
Right.
where it's going.
Right.
I'll make that back. I'm not afraid to do that. So, then after it's purchased, it needs work. It was
Right.
it was a wreck in one of the
really?
units. It was really bad.
Okay.
Really bad.
Okay.
Like dogs were in there that shouldn't have been in there. It was stinky. It was bad. There was too many people in one of the units. It was not a desirable purchase for some.
Sure.
For me, I'm like, oh, it's beautiful. It's perfect. I've seen worse. I've seen worse. I could make this thing look pretty.
Okay.
So, yeah, and that was another project, right? Just getting it together. Okay. So I did some myself.
Okay.
I'm not super handy, but I could follow YouTube and my brother's instructions because he's super handy. This is another thing that I think people should know is this is my second time though working with a contractor that went bad.
Okay. So then it wasn't all, hey, I bought this and I started making money.
No, it's a horrible story. It's I bought this.
Let's hear that. Let's hear that.
I bought this place and I hired this contractor that was referred to me. Mm-hmm. I trusted this, this person to come and do a good job. He's like, oh yeah, I do all this and that. Cool. Do it here.
Right.
And let him roll with it. And I kept stopping by and I'm like, looking at things and things just seemed off. And I'm like, this is not my work,
Sure.
but I think this should be done before this. Or why is the baseboard, whatever. Or why is the flooring not like cut right? Are you going to fix that? Like, oh yeah, we'll fix it. Oh, it's just, oh yeah.
Oh no.
So it was like a process of maybe 4 months. This should have been like a 2-month project.
Oh
right?
no.
Turned into a much longer, but with this guy, it turned into a maybe 4-month issue. I want to just guessing 4 months of that. So that sucked.
Right.
And it's the second time that's happened to me with another remodel project.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to do your due diligence with your with your contractors, even though they're referred to you, and check on their work. And clearly, like, I'm not the project manager for this thing. So I told my brother, next time this goes down, I need you to help me, because this is not my skill set. I'm being told this is going to be fixed. I'm taking pictures, thinking they could repair it or they do it, and it didn't happen. It just kept getting worse, and I just. I'm a pretty nice guy overall, so I kind of just let it roll, and I'm just, it's going to get better, but it never got better.
Oh, no.
So
this was
fired him.
This big brother helping, or little?
Older, yeah, big brother, yeah.
So big bro comes in, now what happened?
He's good. He's super skilled and handy at everything. So him and I you started doing our Home Depot runs.
Sure.
And we made the place look great.
And how long that take?
That was another probably 3 months. Okay. So it's not a good story of what to do. But I could promise you, I'll tell you what not to do. And I would never let it happen again.
But this is your first project, so
yes,
expensive lesson. Very
expensive. I'm paying the mortgage on it. Mm-hmm. I'm paying the contractor. I'm paying all the utilities.
Sure.
What's more expensive, though, is like my time.
Yep.
I took my time away from doing other things to focus on, playing handyman.
Sure.
Which I kind of didn't mind. I mean, I found the work kind of enjoyable, but, it wasn't my plan.
Right.
So, months later, we put it together and it came out great at the end. But
because I seen the pictures. I'm assuming the stuff I started seeing was when it was done.
Oh yeah.
So how'd you decorate? Did you do all that?
Turns out I'm not a good decorator.
Yeah, you made it look like you did. You sly guy.
Yeah. No, that's not my skill set. So I tried.
Yeah.
The problem is I'm analytical.
Yeah.
So for me to order a couch, it'll take me like 2 weeks. I'm looking at all the couches, looking at all the measurements, comparing them, the materials. I just go too deep down the rabbit hole. So
sure.
That's not a job for me. So I lucked out. My brother's girlfriend her house is beautiful, and I asked her to help me decorate it. She would help me, and she loved, some people just love doing that.
Right.
And for me, I was stressed out, didn't like it. Only thing I did was buy the TV. I hired Best Buy to install. But it's like the biggest TV. It's like a guy thing, right?
Sure.
So other than that's all I did. I'm clearly not the decorator. Yeah.
So then now you got it set up. You start listing it. How'd you learn how to list it to be profitable and all that stuff? So
I was gonna go with a management company.
Okay.
To do this, and then I'm like, once again,
sure.
I met this person. I'm like, well, she can do it. I can do it. Maybe I should know how to do it because I want to know what she's doing.
Sure. so then the first time you did it on your own, and how'd it go?
Great.
So now you don't need a management company.
No, I'm my own management company. I've had people now ask me to manage their properties. So I'm considering it. I just, have enough on my plate right now, but maybe at some point it seems to be a thing needed for some people.
Yeah.
Currently I manage and own.
Because I have friends that invest and they talk about Airbnb, but they don't know where to begin. So then they just rent it out normal because they're like, but they're not like you and I were like, let's try it. What's the worst that could happen to you? You know what I mean? So I think
the worst that could happen to you is nothing worse. So it's it's always the thought of all the worst things that could happen, right? Usually almost none of them come true. But I've envisioned so many bad things in my life, right? Sure. I'm in the ocean, there's gonna be a shark, or whatever it is. Every most bad things I've ever thought about never happened. And that's another reason to attempt to do whatever's in your head that's a dream or a thought for a business or whatever you think you want to try to do, just do it.
And if it doesn't start out perfect, keep building towards that dream of how you want it to be, because the journey is the coolest part.
The journey is the best. The end game is actually not as fulfilling.
Right.
Yeah, for anybody.
Yeah, you get the thing that you're chasing, and then you get it, and you have that gratification, and then it just goes away, and then you're like, all right, now what I got to do?
Yep.
And then you got to start a new thing.
Yep. New project.
I think that's freaking awesome. So then, is it booked all the time now?
It's booked a lot.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's booked way more than I thought. You know, when I was doing my projections, I was thinking, oh, it'll probably make like double the mortgage, but it's doing more than that, sometimes triple. Yeah.
And then for cleaner and stuff, how'd you figure that out?
That's another conversation. Turns out it's hard to find a good cleaner.
That's what
Just
I
like
hear.
hard to find a good contractor.
Okay.
Just like hard to find a lot of good things, right? There's probably
Sure.
like 5 good people in like every industry or something like that. So turns out I'm a good mate.
Oh, so you do.
I hired a company. I don't want to do the cleaning, but currently
Sure.
I am. So I hired a company, and they were referred to me. Cool, go do it. And I just checked in to see how it's going. And there's like footprints in the house. There's like coffee in the coffee maker. There's like dirty dishes. And I'm like, this is not how I'm trying to represent my property. Like
Sure.
I put a lot of work into it. I like nice stuff. So I bought like high-end things that go in there. And I'm not going to have it represented with, dirty footprints and other things in there. So I just, we parted our ways, and I'm currently interviewing companies to take over. In the interim, I'm doing that, which is not preferred, but turns out I'm getting good reviews on my cleaning.
Yeah, so if you're a cleaning service, you got a good cleaning service, my friend David needs somebody in San Diego.
Yeah, that's actually, so talk about businesses real quick.
Mm-hmm.
The people in real estate, I think, making a lot of money
Yeah,
are the plumbers,
sure.
the HVAC,
Yep,
the roofers.
yep.
We needed good cleaners.
Yeah, cleaning.
Yeah, so it's
Stagers.
it's kind of like the dirty jobs type
Yeah.
of thing, but they're making most
money.
likely more money than the realtors and other people.
Yeah.
Even the Airbnb guy.
Yeah.
So
I mean, what did they say? Like mostly, what is the 5 or 10% of like the big realtors make most of the money in
Yeah.
real estate?
So that's the, in general, it's the 80-20 rule.
Okay.
And it works for everything almost, any sales organization, right? 20% of the people are doing 80% of the work, and the other 80 are just kind of hanging out, right?
Which, yeah, that's not cool.
It's not cool, but it's just how it works. And
No, I'm just saying
yeah.
if you're the 80%.
Oh, yeah, well, that just means that, maybe you're not motivated, maybe you're not interested, maybe you don't like your job,
Sure.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, I want to first off thank you so much for being a guest on the show. We have reached our 30-minute limit. I'd love to have you on again in the future.
Absolutely.
Anything you want to say before?
I always wanted to say thank you very much. I'm excited for the future. I'm definitely going to tune in and become a follower. And through our network, we have some cleaners and some plumbers and some roofers. So I definitely see some referrals.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Don't have him had to cause big bro on us. But is there anything you want to say or anything you got going that you like to promote?
Only thing I like to promote, just, hey, go to my website, like my Instagram, my Facebook, but thing to say is just, I think people should just be kind to themselves and stop beating themselves up and don't be afraid to try, because we only got one shot at this, and there's no redos.
That's beautiful, man. It's beautiful.
Well said.
Well, episode 11 is a wrap. Thank you so much for being on Knowledge Currency, and we'll see you folks next week.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.